spoilers for Ballad of Falling Dragons. If you haven't read the book, if you haven't finished the book, I suggest not watching this. So this is a follow-up to my spoiler-free review. In this video, I'm probably going to cover a little bit more of my theories, things that I guess Ballad has now confirmed for us in the story, and maybe some of my thoughts, predictions, hopes going into book 3. So yeah, if you're interested, stick around, and I'd love to hear some of yours as well if you finished the book. And let's go. So we obviously got confirmation that the other is Slatra. I mean, that one's kind of a freebie after reading When the Moon Hatched. If you didn't already kind of put that together, I'd be concerned about your reading comprehension. But we at least got concrete confirmation that the other is Slatra. Pyrock's sister, by the way, I really had to rack my brain if we knew this in When the Moon Hatched or were told this. I'm 99.9% sure we weren't. But Pyrock's sister being married to Kadok Vaegor, like Khan's brother, one of the twins, is actually mind-blowing. That one really shook me a little bit. I think that she is going to be a big part of book 3. I do think that the twins are going to be, I guess, the main antagonists of book 3. So I really hope that we get to actually meet her properly on page, understand a bit more of her story, how she ended up married to Kadok. Is she good? Is she bad? I really don't know. So I'm really keen to find out more about her as, I guess, the series progresses. Hadeon. After book 1, this was probably like my number one hope, no matter how slim the chance, that Hadeon would maybe still be alive or be able to be brought back somehow. And as soon as we got confirmation that his dragon is Slatra's daughter, I think, let's go with that. I assumed immediately that whatever ability or power Slatra has that allowed her to cradle and preserve Elowyn would potentially be passed on to her offspring, and therefore, you know, Hadeon has been able to come back. So I am so excited for this storyline in book 3. I can't wait, honestly. Enough said. That really hurt me deep in my soul. And I just want to understand why, Sarah. Why? Gut punch after gut punch. Along the same line, Kazari, her backstory is so incredibly tragic and unsettling, and everything that she has gone through while being held captive by the Scavenger King was so devastating. And Vaya nursing her, not expecting her to survive, just tore me to shreds. And Kalis, that was so stunningly beautiful. The imagery of Kazari and Kalis just embracing each other towards the end was achingly beautiful. And I really, really hope that their love and their love story gets explored in book 3. I really hope that it is genuine, that it isn't, I guess, a ruse from Kalis just trying to find a way to escape the diadem that he has been trapped in for centuries and centuries and centuries. So I'm very excited to see more of that in book 3 and explore that. I think that Kazari is a phenomenal character, and I cannot wait to see her, I guess, come into her own a bit more now that she knows who her parents are. And yeah, can't wait. Raigan, I refuse to believe it. I think honestly though, that if there was more confirmation or finality to it in the end, in the last few chapters, it would have made sense and been more easy to understand and accept. But I think because of that, and, you know, Rave just sort of had this throwaway line to Khan about it, I don't think that it would even make sense to have him actually be dead. And then, you know, we have it confirmed in book 3 and that wound gets ripped back open. That just makes no sense for the plot, for anything. So I think that he is still alive. Obviously, it was Grimm that came upon him and saved him, presumably, on the great silver saber scythe that he had just bonded to. And I think that the dragon flame from the saber scythe is probably what saved Raigan, was able to, I guess, warm him up. So that was so sad and so devastating, especially to read it through Khan's perspective. But I am holding out hope for book 3. Don't quote me on that one yet. Maybe. Pyrock and Essie, name a more iconic duo. That team up was so unexpected and so good. I loved getting Pyrock's POV, and obviously we're like 99% sure that Essie is an Elding bird, right? Like there's no other option at this point. It makes sense now that she asked Rave to burn her body. She was mortally wounded and basically walked through Pyrock's flames and then reappeared and was able to save him, and she was perfectly fine. So I think that is such a fascinating turn for the plot. I should have seen it coming. I feel like there are probably breadcrumbs in book 1 that I just have not picked up on because it was just never in the stratosphere of possibilities in my head. So I'm very, very curious what, if anything, is really sort of foreshadowed of that. But I love that reveal. And Pyrock's throwaway line about her resembling a portrait in his family's home was so interesting. So is Pyrock an Elding bird? He's a Ranger. It could go either way. But again, so keen to understand more about this from book 3 and see where that leads. I think I was the tiniest bit disappointed by the Rave Khan Kazari reunion that we didn't really get, at least not on page. I'm hoping that we do get a little bit more of that in book 3. It just felt like a little bit of weak payoff for something that we had cared so deeply about for basically 2 books. And it's probably one of the few things that I wished we had more of or got a bigger glimpse into. The epilogue was super interesting. I'm curious to see what's going to happen now with Sareem, obviously. What's happening with the Scavenger King. I wonder if, well, is he going to come back? Who knows? Find out in book 3. Tyrock absolutely needs to go. He's horrible. I think, like I mentioned before, the twins will be the main antagonists of book 3. And I guess that and the aftermath of the moonfalls, the cities and the land will be quite devastated by the sound of it. And, people are probably in a state of panic. And I'm very keen to see how that kind of unfolds in book 3. I believe it's only going to be a trilogy. Sarah's confirmed. So either it better be a hefty book or, there's a lot of ground to cover. So Ballad has answered a lot of things for me, but it's also given me so many more questions. And I love that. I think a lot of people often complain about a book 2 in a trilogy or a series as being weak or not giving them all the answers. And that kind of never makes sense to me because when there's more books coming, why would everything get answered? It doesn't make sense. So yeah, I think this was a fantastic read. I was absolutely gripped from page 1. There were so many things to uncover and just so many thoughts kind of ruminating around in my brain. So I'm so keen to hear your thoughts, your theories, your hopes for book 3, how you felt about book 2, anything that maybe I didn't mention in this video, I would love to hear.